So, Carl, there was a long-running story on the pod for years. It was the same question over and over and over. Should Harry Kane leave Spurs? Should he leave Spurs? Should he leave Spurs?
Yeah.
Now I've seen, for the first time in history, should Harry Kane have left Spurs? Because a few days ago, third-tier Saarbrücken stunned Bundesliga champions with a last-gasp winner to knock them out of the Pokal, which means Harry Kane must win the Bundesliga or the Champions League or face no trophies in his first year at Bayern Munich.
And really, I mean, the league is kind of a formality. I think he scored a hat-trick there recently.
But he bounced back a few days later with a hat-trick against Dortmund. But it brought up another old argument. How many goals does he score? They never mean nothing at all.
I also saw that. Did you see he did the German 3? When he did Dry Golza.
He's adapting.
He's adapting. He's aware of his surroundings. I'll give him that, you know.
Yeah. It is insane to think what could have been if Harry Kane was in the Postecoglou team.
I think it was, he does loads of stats on Twitter. I don't want to say, I missed his name, Duncan something, I think, on Twitter. He said Spurs win the league after Harry Kane leaves would be the modern day equivalent of Liverpool win the Champions League the year after Michael Owen leaves.
Yeah.
Like for years, like, okay, well, they have Michael Owen, just build around him. Then as soon as he goes, well, now they're fucked, and then bang, he was the problem all along.
Now it makes sense.
No, honestly, that is nonsense. Nonsense. All nonsense.
They say many garbage things.
You don't know what you're going to get.
Melodrama upon melodrama!
This is a totally
Shameful, disgraceful piece of nonsense!
He was miles off it yesterday.
You'll learn a lot more if you listen rather than talk all
Plenty
the
of
time.
time, no problem.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to a No Nonsense podcast with Cathal and Will. The show goes on, Will.
It sure does. For anyone else, they're probably thinking, what are you talking about?
Yes, I am currently, Will, on the other side of the world.
Yes, you're in a different continent.
Different continent altogether. I'm in sunny Mexico right now. I'm in the designated room in the hostel they have for people with jobs who travel. I'm kind of like that, but not really, you know.
The podcast room.
Yeah, that's, you know, co-working podcast, whatever you want to call it, you know. I snuck the mic in here so no one would see me, you know.
Yeah. You don't want to I'd be fielding any questions about that.
I'm going to promote the pod. Craziness.
No chance.
Although, you know, there's a few people who I got stuck talking to a guy about rugby there recently. It's happening more than I thought it ever would, Will. I mean, first that one guy, then the dentist, now a guy, you know, in Mexico talking to me about, you know, the Six Nations and Ireland's chances. Like, I don't know. I don't know.
The scales are tipping. We need to learn soon how to speak rugby.
This will all die down eventually. Will soon people return to the glorious, problem-free Premier League, you know,
Yeah.
for their viewing pleasure.
This is the thing. I would say people watched the Rugby Cup and went, wow, that every game ran so smoothly. There was not a controversy to be seen.
Yeah, I think there might have been one refereeing thing actually in the World Cup. But again, if you're not tuned into these things, you don't know about Arsenal and Liverpool's problems this year. I mean, you don't.
Yeah.
You don't know what VAR even is, you know, or what the issues are with it. But yeah, if anybody's interested, new segment, Mexico Corner. Play the music.
Play the music.
Hey, is this the best of Mexico? Mira el centro, clave, gol!
I love the Mexican people. They have tremendous spirit.
Scientists in Mexico pulling back the curtain on what they believe are aliens.
Yeah, very hot, Will. Humid, 30 degrees all day, 24 degrees at night.
That's too much.
You know, often at home when it gets like 22 degrees, you go, it's almost too hot, you know?
Yeah.
It's like that all the time here. But really nice spot, people spot. I'm dressed like the biggest tourist I've ever seen. I mean, one of the first things I did was get the biggest touristy straw hat. You know, with the string on it as well. And some,
so you don't lose it.
Some knockoff Ray-Bans as well. So I'm going around. I'm of course my fanny pack. You know, I look like a 90s wrestler on holiday. Right?
Yeah. A 90s wrestler doing anything.
Yes, literally doing anything, but also in baggy clothes, so I look even bigger. You know. Yeah, that's your update this week on Mexican Quarter.
Hey, is this the best of Mexico? Mira el centro, claro, gol!
I love the Mexican.
I like the idea that week by week it'll like rapidly go downhill. Like in 2 months, you're like, Mexico update, I'm trapped in a cell. On with the show.
On with the show. You know when we did the Very Serious one, that was just a clever play on words, you know?
Yeah.
Very Serious 2, I was like, oh, like, you know, Terminator, because it's machines and whatever. But like when they made Terminator, they probably thought, we'll make 1, 2 if we're lucky, you know?
Yeah.
And then it got such good reviews, they made a 3rd one, and then a 4th one, and then a 5th one, I think a 6th one, and they just got worse and worse and worse, and the whole thing just kind of fell apart.
Yeah.
This is what I feel like every time there's a VAR controversy. I'm like, another one? Is it still? Is there a need to do another VAR episode? But every week there seems to be an opportunity to do one, and then every so often there's a massive blow up over VAR.
Yes. It all bubbles to the surface.
Yeah, because it's, I mean, people were citing the Wolves had a few, I think maybe last week or this week, I'm not sure. Gary Neal should feel aggrieved over Wolves' VAR controversy, but only when it's a big team is it a problem.
Yeah.
You know, so it's happening all the time. And then Arteta, I know people say he crossed the line, Will. He insulted the game. But I think there's literally a PGMOL apology board for teams, and there's points, and it's you know, so they don't have a leg to stand on to say, how dare you insult the refereeing standards. It's like, well, I mean, I can see where he's coming from. I mean, it's happening to every team almost every week.
This is the new problem now, though, in that in this game, there was VAR issues. Yeah. One of them was Arsenal's player, Havertz. Definitely should have been sent off. He was sailing through the air before he tackled a man. And then the goal, which was disallowed for 3 different checks, which is too many things to check for.
Yeah.
All of them were pretty arguable, like, you do have to give the goal. But now it's just gotten to the stage where if it's controversial at all, or if it's slow, now the clubs feel like, because they've been wrong so many times in the past, that it's never right. When actually it was okay in that game.
Yeah, it's subjective. You know, I heard Martin O'Neill talk on TalkSport saying it was definitely a free out because he definitely fouled Saliba. And then it's like, well, it's subjective, I guess. It's what I think.
That would have been one of the ones, if they had given it a free out for that, the little push in the back,
yeah,
I think Newcastle would have rightfully been allowed to go, well, that's bollocks. That happens all the time and it's not a free.
And that's, I think, the core problem. It's like stuff happens all the time and it depends on the referee, depends on the day, and it's a subjective thing. And it's, I mean, for anybody who doesn't know, there was a 1-0 defeat to Arsenal against Newcastle. It was a controversial goal where the ball looked like it went out first.
Get your papers out. We know how it works.
If you're not sure what we're talking about, Google Japan versus Germany World Cup 2022. And it was like the top-down view.
Yeah.
I mean, it's funny because we joked about this before, that we need to have the entire pitch covered in AI.
This is becoming more common. This happened a few weeks ago with United, which I will say as well, I am being radicalized by football Twitter, because now I'm thinking of all of the screenshots when things go against clubs and it didn't happen for United, the exact same circumstance. It's driving me insane now.
What we're getting to now is that the entire pitch needs to be covered in like kind of Black Mirror, bugs with lasers and cameras, so we can see every possible angle. Because as Arteta said, we'll play the clip, but as he said, there's too much riding on this. There's too much at stake. Which again is what we said. Like, there's so much money involved. Like for Arteta personally, for Arsenal, for advertisers, for sponsors. It's like these decisions are costing people millions of euros.
Yeah.
There's so much riding on this subjective decision, you know?
Yeah, it's not good enough that the 10 cameras were not able to see was the ball over the line or not. Who cares about the dimensions of the sphere of the football? We need technology to tell us now.
Like we literally need a holographic ball. We need sensors in the ball.
Why can't the computer generated offsides work for all around the pitch?
Because they're fake, Will. People just make them up.
Before, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. That was the first one. It was, did the ball go over the line? Did it not go over the line? It's funny. Football is funny because, like, of course, it would be Joe Willock, the guy who like couldn't get a game in Arsenal, had a great season at Newcastle on loan. Then Arsenal, tricked Newcastle by getting to pay 30 million for him. He was terrible. He's been better, but he hasn't recaptured that form. And then like he's fallen out of the team. But of course, be him to get like a borderline. Was that ball over the line? That was the first one. The ball go over the line. He crossed it back in. Oh, look, I'd say Ray is delighted about this because he was in absolute no man's land. He flapped. It was the biggest flap I've ever seen. He just came out, got no near the ball. There was a debate then if Saliba, the centre back, was he fouled? I mean, it was a hand in the back. I mean, it wasn't like he was dragged down or held. I think it was a holding. It's more of a case, but that was the second one. Was he fouled? Maybe. And then the third one was it an offside? Which I don't think people even have an absolute on that either. I
didn't even know what player they were talking about for the offside. I couldn't work it out. There was so much going on.
Was it Anthony Gordon? But again, it took 4 minutes to check these three things.
Which that's pretty good going.
But that's it. Like that's almost too fast. You're checking three different things. It took 4 minutes. People are like, it took too long. What's all? Yeah, also, if you're waiting 4 minutes for the checks to come along, you're thinking of they're just waiting to find something to screw us with here. They're trying to cook up something in that environment to screw us over because that's what they do. They're corrupt. They're against teams. So the longer it waits, the more the conspiracy starts to bubble in your head.
Yeah.
So then when it goes against you, like, I fucking knew it. I knew they were doing that. So it's, it's all debatable. I mean, we just don't have the camera angle to see if the ball was fully over the line.
Yeah.
We don't. No one knows if it was offside or which player they're checking. Were lines drawn? Were they not drawn? Yeah. It's just...
I was thinking this as well, because obviously, like, the way it's communicated to you if you're watching on telly is through the mouths of Gary Neville and Peter Drury, who are hearing the chaos in the VAR room. That is an insane system. Why
are they hearing the VAR room?
Well, I think so, because they always say check complete, or they're checking it, or they're having a look at this now. So if they're here in the VAR room through the whole game and commentating, they deserve medals.
There must be a way they can check into it, but if they could be listening to that shit all game, and then also
you'd be driven demented.
No, so yeah, it's a whole big. That was, I mean, what happened on the pitch, what happened afterwards. Then, and I think this is point out as well. That, like, is there a need to interview managers 4 minutes after the game is ended? Can you give them 20 minutes? Can you hang around for 20 minutes, lads, to do the interview? Or because the interview was only 3.5 minutes. So, like, wait around for 15 minutes, let them cool down, let them think, okay, what do I actually want to say here? Yeah. But, that's what gets podcasters like us their bread, Will. We can talk about these things forever.
This was a bit of a damning one as well. Not damning, but to show the level of how hot-headed Arteta was after the game. He did the post-game interview, so in the tunnel right after, where he was fuming. And then a few minutes later, he sat down at the post-match press conference, and he did it again.
He doubled down.
Yeah, which, never do that. Always ease off a bit, you should have.
Don't back down, double down.
I'm telling you, don't back down, double down. Don't back down, double down. If you show any weakness, if you apologise or try to explain yourself, they'll see it as weakness, they'll smell blood, and down you'll fucking go.
He literally did the Lemmy. You must have watched the Lemmy clips for this. It's like, fuck this, man. I'm going all in on this. I mean, should we just play the clip at this point?
We'll play the clip. Honestly, it could be a 5-minute clip because it is chocked full of mad quotes.
It's embarrassing. It's a disgrace. That's what it is, a disgrace.
Will you be taking this up with PGMOL?
Yeah, we've been taking it for many months. It's so much at stake. We put so many hours. I'm here to represent the football club and to get my team to compete at the highest level. The margins are so small. It's a disgrace. It's embarrassing. That's how I feel. And that's how everybody feels in that room. You cannot imagine the amount of messages that we got to say this cannot continue. It's embarrassing. I'm sorry. Embarrassing. I defend my players when I have to put there. I defend my job when I have to be there. It's not good enough. It's not good enough. But I have to be here to say it now. It's not acceptable. It's too much at stake.
On the pitch, with the decisions and off the pitch, VAR taking so long, 3 checks before deciding that Anthony Gordon's goal could stand.
And I think you look at the images and I feel, honestly, I don't know how to feel. I'm wasting my time. We are wasting our time. I don't want to be in the hands of people. It's difficult enough to compete against this team that they are a really good team. But the way we play, the way we competed, you cannot continue that. It's embarrassing. It's too much at stake. Again, I repeat myself. But that obviously affects results, affects momentum, affects confidence. And the consequences are too big. Too big. Yeah, we have to talk about the result because you have to talk about how the hell this goal stand up. And it's incredible. I feel embarrassed. But I have to be the one now coming here to try to defend the club and please ask for help. Because it's an absolute disgrace that this goal is allowed. It's an absolute disgrace.
Why do you think it's a disgrace?
Because it's not a goal. For many reasons, it's not a goal. For more than one reason at least, it's not a goal. And it's too much at stake here. We put so much effort. It's so difficult to compete at this level. And it's an absolute disgrace. Again, I feel embarrassed. I've been more than 20 years in this country. And this is nowhere near the level to describe this as the best league in the world. I am sorry.
Playing devil's advocate, there were 3 checks and the information back from the stock department.
That makes it even worse. Even worse. It makes it even worse. You just need to see one image, c'est fini. And you have any doubt, you look at the second one, and if this is a goal, okay, that's fine.
They're saying they haven't got camera angles to prove one way or the other.
I don't care, honestly. I don't care what they say. It's the outcome. It's too late. Whatever they say is too late. I don't want to be in the hands of people.
2 referee decisions from the first half that came into focus was the challenge from Kai Havertz, which saw 3 Newcastle players booked, and also the elbow on Jorginho for Bruno in the first half.
And the penalty on Eddie, and there is a lot of things. We can continue. Yeah. Nothing. I have to stand here now and explain. And we lost 3 points today, guys. You know what that means? It's too hard, this league. It's too hard. It's too much at stake. It's embarrassing.
Yeah, I mean, that's, like I say, he said that twice. You could say, heat of the moment, and then I did it again. It's still in the heat of the moment.
I mean, yeah, he rattled off like a list of things you're not allowed to say as a manager for a club.
What people agreed with was that, like, yeah, you know what, if you've been done out of 3 points and you feel you've been wronged, then yeah, say what you feel. You should be allowed to say what you feel. But I think it was these are the worst referees in Europe. Worse than
this
Japan.
Is not the best league in the world. How
worse
dare
than
you?
Japan, worse than China, worse than ever. It's like, okay, well, you know, I mean, you don't know, first of all. You really just don't know that to be a fact. Maybe he was listening to the pod, Will, and he heard us saying, you know what, Champions League went by, and a single VAR decision. I went, yeah, that's true. That's the only evidence he needs, you know.
It was so bizarre because, again, this is obviously a case of this has been bubbling up.
Yeah.
But it just seemed a weird game for him to do this in because you can't see those VAR decisions in the stadium, isn't that right?
Yeah.
So how would he have known he was fucked at the goal rather than it took too long? And then it's also the case of, well, then you can't be giving out that they didn't give the goal and then no mention of your player should have been sent off earlier in the game.
Yeah, well, I don't know if it's in that clip there, but someone did say, what about Havertz as well? It's like, yeah, and Eddie and Ketty should got a penalty too. Lots of bad decisions for both sides, you know. Yeah. He blew past it, you know.
In his mind, when he said, what about Havertz? He probably thought, yeah, Havertz probably was fouled at some stage. They should have given that too.
I think, well, this is the thing. It's like, okay, heat the moment, but then also he heard that. And that didn't sober him up one bit. He went, yeah, sure, but back to what I was saying. It's like, yeah, I'm trying to make a point here. I'm trying to needle somebody here. But, you know, I think it's the clubs probably feel that, like, it's bad for the Premier League to have these VAR decisions.
Yes.
Do you know what I mean? So that they are in a position to criticize them because the Premier League isn't going to, like, say for the match schedule, the games played. That's good for the Premier League to have more games until it gets to a point where no one can play. But they'll push that to the very end. Whereas this, so they can't really fight that. You know, they're getting paid, and it's like whatever. You know, we're going to play a lot of games. We can give out, but not to a point where we say this is a disgrace.
Yeah.
But the refereeing being bad is actively bad for the Premier League. So they know that if we keep addressing this, keep pushing this, something will change, and maybe VAR will be taken out. I think they won't be taken out, but because we've had a couple of goal line decisions, it'll be like just cameras all over, like full security around the whole place, and that's probably the way it's going to go.
Yeah. And like I said, it feels like this is now the clubs doing this. Because I think a lot of the time when a manager comes out and he says, hey, every ref in this league is a disgrace, and it makes me feel sick to my stomach and things like that. Their club normally they won't mention that ever happened. Whereas Arsenal put out a statement. And I think even though it's November, we must have reached the record of statements per club this season so far. It feels like we read one out every week.
Well, do you know what it is? It's like when I don't know who the first Man United player was to apologise for performance, but then it kind of was like, I guess we have to apologise now again for this one. You know, it's like once one club without a statement about the VAR, it's like, well, their manager went crazy, so they backed him. I guess we have to do that as well. You know, it's almost like it's the done thing overnight. It's like, it doesn't have to be. You can break the trend, you know, you can just say nothing. So
Arsenal said, I'll read out some bits of the statement. The first paragraph is the big one. Arsenal Football Club wholeheartedly supports Mikel Arteta's post-match comments after yet more unacceptable refereeing and VAR errors on Sunday evening. The Premier League is the best league in the world with the best players, coaches and supporters, all of whom deserve better. PGMOL urgently needs to address the standard of officiating and focus on action which moves us all on from retrospective analysis, attempted explanations and apologies.
Get it right the first time.
Yeah, sort it out, basically. I do like, though, that they did not back Arteta's "this is not the best league in the world" statement. They said, no, it is. We're a big part of that. That's like our marketing as well.
Yeah. Well, that's it. They know what their bread is butter as well. That's what they market the whole thing on, that we're a team in the Premier League, which means something. It's like, this is a joke of a league. It's like, whoa, I wouldn't say a joke of a league. I'd say there's certainly issues with the league, but I would still say a far and above better than everybody else. Don't go supporting Inter Milan me now, okay? Forget those boys. That's a bad league. That's a bad league.
The worst look of all for Arteta in this, and like I think most of the time, and a lot of people listen probably were like, even though that game might not have been the one to do it, he's right. Generally, it is bollocks. It does need to be fixed. It's a joke. But what he said a month ago, when the same thing happened to Liverpool, probably much worse, where admittedly the referees did not know what was going on, and they released the audio showing that. When that happened, and Liverpool put out a statement, Arteta was asked about it, and he said, "We need to understand, sometimes mistakes happen."
Yeah. Well, mistakes are fine until they happen to my club. Then it's a fucking problem. You know?
Yeah, then it's embarrassing. It's a disgrace. That's what it is. It's a disgrace. That was his quote.
Makes me sick. Yeah. Echoes of Andre Gray. Remember that infamous tweet? Look it up, folks. We won't repeat it here, but I mean,
it's a doozy.
You do tend to agree with that. It shouldn't be happening, but I think there's a lot of conspiracies about Arsenal. I think this is the real. I think people missing the big conspiracy. Well, the big picture is that I think the clubs are taking this opportunity to really have a go at VAR, to like look at it. This is actually ruining the league, you know?
Yeah.
And it's like, what's their end goal? Do they want VAR out? Do they want it improved? I mean, if you take VAR out and that ball goes over the line and the ref misses it, because you could easily miss it because you can't see, then it's like, oh, this is a joke. We should be able to fix these things, you know? Do you remember that the Charlie Austin interview from a few years ago?
Yeah, the Park Life meme.
Yeah, I think I'm right in saying that he very similar was like, this must be the best league in the world. This is a disgrace.
Yeah.
I think it was because the decision, went against them and they couldn't check it. I think he was actually calling for VAR using the same logic, being like, this is meant to be the best league in the world. If we can get decisions right.
Yeah.
We have VAR in, and I guess it's, VAR is supposedly like, now we have machines, and machines don't make mistakes.
Yeah.
Which is like, it was meant to help to make it a bit better, but I think it's done is fueled conspiracy theorists that like, now it's confirmed that the league is against my club.
Yeah. Which is funny because every week, every club is complaining, but the fans will only back when it's their own club.
Well, a lot of the fans only watch their team.
Exactly, yeah.
They'll watch, even if they watch a match today, they'll switch off after their highlights are over.
Yeah.
That's why they complain about their teammate at the end. It's like, I don't want to fucking watch Luton play. If they're playing Liverpool, I want to watch Arsenal play. Why are we at the end? This kind of stuff. So this is why it happens. Because it's like, if you're only watching your own team, you're going, it's always us. It's like, it's everyone. You just don't see it.
Yeah. It's literally every game. It's non-stop.
Yeah. Which, again, it doesn't make it right. If it's like, listen, everyone's struggling. It's like, well, then shouldn't something be changed?
Oh, it's too hard.
I think at the end of the season, something drastic will have to happen. Either they up the ante and they cover the pitch in AI. Well, they just start doing AI everywhere.
Actual robots all
just
surround the pitch.
Make the seats AI. Maybe, I don't know. Surely AI can help with this. AI is definitely the answer. Or I can't see it happening. But they just say, you know what, lads, forget it. We'll just scrap the whole thing. But as Arteta said, there's so much at stake.
Yeah.
There's too much at stake. And that's the money. There's so much money in the game now that like people are going to want to see heads roll if decisions don't go their way. So,
and there is another layer to it as well, to this game.
Yeah.
A reason Arteta might have been so annoyed. Did you ever think that one of the biggest rivalries in football would become Arsenal versus Newcastle? Because I think the last 3 or 4 times they've played has been like a big occasion like this where everyone gets very angry.
Yeah, well, maybe in the 90s you would have thought it could happen.
Yeah.
But I mean, in the last 20 years, I guess 30 years now, I mean, it's crazy. But I think, do you know what it is? It's like we look at Man City and when they got taken over, and I think it was 2012 they brought in Tixi Bergestein. I think I'm saying that right.
Yeah, it's the guy with the X in his name. You might have read it before.
Yeah, because he was a big coup for them because he was the director of football at Barcelona. He came in 2012 and they got the whole club set up like Barcelona to get in Pep to say, look, we've got endless money plus look at this system. And that's why they brought players like Phil Foden, Cole Palmer, Jadon Sancho. Now, obviously, 2 of them aren't at City anymore, but like this is the players that Pep could see. He's like, okay, they're actually nurturing players here. They had endless money. They said, let's be Barcelona. Yeah. And that's, win stuff like they've won stuff and create players that they've created. Newcastle have seen, I guess, Atletico Madrid and said, yeah, let's be those bastards.
Yeah.
But like, the thing is, Barcelona were in a 2-team league and they had a lot of money. They were one of the biggest clubs by revenue, pre-pandemic, I guess. So yeah, it was a very similar model. Whereas Atletico Madrid are like that because they have to be. Because they're trying to break into a 2-team league. Newcastle with, all the money in the world are like, let's be like kind of scrappy.
Yeah,
let's time waste and let's grind out and let's
elbow, kick, bite,
questionable tackles, borderline assault. It's like it's grand. I mean, and the results, I guess, speak for themselves. They got to an FA Cup final. They got in Champions League. So it's like, well, if it's working, who cares how they play? But I feel like someone like Isaac is never going to be that player. And he's kind of losing his place to Wilson.
Yeah.
Who's like, I'm not saying he's a dirty player, but like he's much more like determined and kind of scrappy. Like he has come back from 2 cruciates.
He's been in the physical prem.
Yeah. He's played in the championship, I'm fairly sure. He's played with Bournemouth where you have to you might get 2 chances in the whole game. So he's set up for this kind of fight for everything. Whereas Isaac is like, I'm kind of more of a just score, He's not going to like Gordon and Almiron, they'll press in the front. But like, I think, and Newcastle's, ambition should be Champions League. With all the money in the world, why not? But like, you're not going to get a Kylian Mbappe player to come to your team. If like, okay, here we're going to work hard, we're going to press, we're probably going to foul as well. He's like, I don't want that, Yeah. You might say like, okay, I don't want Kylian Mbappe then. I want him to play that way. But I think you need those players to win the big.
Yeah, to make the leap.
You won't, like we saw at PSG, like you won't win Champions League with just those players, but you won't win without them either.
Yeah.
You know, if it takes like, 9 or 10 players to do that kind of hard work, they need the superstars to, I mean, Ronaldo, like that penalty kick, or Bale, who's often like, he doesn't do enough. Like that goal he scored, the bicycle kick in the Champions League final. I mean, you're just not going to get that from Anthony Gordon. You know what I mean? He'll do everything else perfectly, and there's still space for him. But like, I think if you want to attract the best players like that, you need to play a bit more. I don't know. I think that's why they have such a problem at Arsenal, because Arsenal are the opposite. They like obviously work hard and they press high, but it's much more like quick passing, and like Martinelli and Saka. I don't know if they'd make that Newcastle team.
No, they'd be on the no chance.
Do you know what I mean? Because that's not because like their ability, but I just think they wouldn't want that. You know what I mean?
Who are they going to mark at the corner? That's what's important.
So, I think Anthony Gordon, there is a place for him in the Arsenal team.
Yeah,
I think he has the ability, but the way the Newcastle are playing, it's like it's it's like needlessly aggressive. Like
you already have so much more money than us. Why are you kicking us as well?
So maybe this is just the Eddie Howe era. Do you know what I mean? And like he'll bring them to a certain point, and they go, okay, right, we have a reputation as a team that can compete. Then we'll bring in, at a Xabi Alonso or someone, like, for example, and then we'll start playing that. So once we have a base, like we're in Champions League most years, now we need someone to kind of get us to the next level. So maybe that's the plan. But certainly when Newcastle and Arsenal play, it's a very two contrasting styles, and they do not like each other.
Yeah, it's very entertaining every time.
It makes for great stuff. It really does. Yeah, I mean, that's, I suppose, the main story is like, Arsenal lost, and they lost ground on the title race, and Arteta crosses the line, snaps, But when you look around the league, Liverpool drew, Aston Villa lost, West Ham lost after being ahead. Everyone lost ground except for City. And new favorite of the show, Will, Master Chef Doku.
He is cooking again.
He's back in the kitchen, Will. He's cooking up 4 assists and a goal in a 6-1 win.
4 assists. He's playing in the Premier League.
Now, listen, I didn't actually see those goals, so they're fancy assists. So it might be, last touch off a defender and then him, or I don't know. I'm assuming they're all down the byline, whipped crosses in, but I don't know.
Well, I do know he definitely played well, because I saw him hit the griddy on 3 separate occasions in the one match. He wasn't even scoring, and he was hitting it.
Oh no, he's amazing, because he's, I guess, there was room for a Sterling in that City team, wasn't there? Someone with just pace and sorry, there was like a mariachi band going by. Like, not even having a joke, a stupid, like literally there was a mariachi band that went by the hostel there.
That's great being on the show.
I'm not even saying that. Honestly, I was like, are they in the room with me? What the fuck? I don't know if you can hear that. I guess like they got rid of a lot of players last summer, or 2 summers ago, I guess, and then went on to win the treble. Cut the fat. What do we really need? And then they brought in Doku this year, thinking, okay, we won the treble, but what do we need to improve on? Honestly, God, they are like a small club. They do transfers like a small club with all the money of the richest club in the world, which is what they are. So that's why they're so unstoppable, because bringing Doku is just inspired by, after winning the treble, it's one of those things now. He'll go on to have a great career with City, and people will just assume, yeah, he was on the treble winning side. He was unreal. It's like, no, he actually came in the summer after, if you can believe that. Like, he didn't actually win the treble. I mean, he won the treble the next year, but he didn't win the first treble,
And he came into pretty much zero fanfare, I would say. It wasn't like a blockbuster move or anything.
Well, there's so much money spent in the last 2 windows. The numbers they didn't make any sense to anybody. So if someone came in for 100 million, it was like, I don't know what that means anymore. I don't know. I've heard there's inflation in the shops, so maybe it's the same here. But yeah, he's just kind of operating almost outside of the Pep system. He's just rapid, really, really fast, great feet, and great delivery. And it's just, keep it simple.
Yeah, just do you, man. He's a real throwback. It's like if Pep had a team in the 90s, what the wingers would be doing.
Yeah, honestly. And it does bring into stark contrast then the treatment that Jack Grealish got. It was like, you have to buy into the system. You have to figure it out. And all his candid interviews being like, yeah, it's going to take time. It's fucking high level stuff here, And then Doku just comes in and is, I'm just going to run. I'm going to run right at them, actually. Cut in, cut out, just do what I want.
I did see a clip of Grealish talk about when he was at Villa. Was it Dean Smith that was managing then?
Yes.
Where he was literally, like Grealish said, Dean Smith would do the team talk with the team, go through attacks to everyone, and he'd say to me, he'd go, just do whatever the hell you want to do. If you think the left back is weak, go to that wing. If the right back is weak, go there. If the centre back is weak, go in the middle. Do whatever you feel like, Jack.
I don't know what Doku's experience was at his last club. I'm sure there was some kind of direction as well, because he's not the kind of a playmaker. But I mean, I know, again, I think we said this last year when it was they did against Arsenal, when there was Haaland and they had kind of De Bruyne playing in the pocket. And I was like, he has a free rein out there. And then De Bruyne came back after the game. It was like, it was a very specific rein, actually. When he dropped short, I dropped there. It looked like a free rein because of my, smooth, effortless movements. But really, I had a very clear plan in mind as to what I was doing. I'd go after Partey, drop off, come.
Very hard.
So I'm sure there's probably method to what Doku's doing, but it just looks like he's using his pace and killing players. And it's very hard to stop when you're a player who has that pace and the feet and the delivery. Yeah. And, you see it sometimes then when they play an opponent that hasn't a plan for him. Yeah. He just does absolute damage.
It's funny as well because it does seem like, because teams are so used to playing the City system where it's like pass it, then across the box. So when teams do come up against this fella who's just running by them now, they're like, well, what the fuck am I supposed to do now? Everyone else, the other 10 lads are doing the system and he's doing his own thing.
Yeah, it's a great weapon for them to have, I think.
Yeah.
So yeah, look, I look forward to more sumptuous meals from Doku as City. I mean, honestly, right now, I'm going to say absolute will. We're putting absolute on the board. I'm saying City win the league.
Shocker. You heard it here first. Again, we were the first people to say it last year as well.
I've been right every year this pod, except for last year I said Arsenal won the league. So
yeah,
it's a good system, picking City most of the time.
There you go, it's on the board. City to win the league and PSG to win the Champions League.
The truth is, Will, I was about to say City to do the double, the Champions League and the league, and I said, oh shit.
You would have cancelled out your other guarantee. Which shows you the fine-tuned thinking for putting the guarantees out in the first place.
I cup-tied myself there. With PSG already winning the Champions League. Of course, only one team can win it every year, as we all know. And that's PSG's honour this year, as I have already outlined. So, City to win the Premier League. That's put on the board. As we're saying, all the kind of pretenders to it, bar Tottenham, who at this point have probably already played. It's 7 o'clock at the moment, so another hour they'll have played and probably lost to Chelsea, like they tend to do.
It feels that in the air, doesn't it?
Yeah. But before we get into that, we had Liverpool playing Luton.
Yeah.
Luton, I think people had them earmarked to go down along with Everton, but they're scrapping out some draws. They got a good draw against Liverpool this week. But I mean, the main story was that Luis Diaz was the one who saved them. Speaking of being saved, Will, how is Luis Diaz's family getting on? Because last time I heard, they were kidnapped in Colombia.
It's fucking insane.
This is crazy.
It's madness. And like the fact that he's playing Luton in the week this is happening, the whole thing is just a mad story. And then he comes fucking on, he gets subbed on, and he gets the equaliser. Are you joking?
Maybe it's kind of thing where it's like, he'd rather be playing. Like, if he's not, he's just going to be ruminating on it. Or it's like, listen, Diaz, I know your family's making that, but there's a lot at stake here, okay? You know how good City are? If we lose this game to Luton, it is lights out. So I know you've got your own problems, but You're under contract, buddy. Okay, so get out there and salvage a draw.
There was a very damaging comparison to one man's performance this season. At the end of the game, Diaz unveiled a message. He's had freedom for his father written on his top.
Yeah.
Lifted up after score, lifted up after the game. Another player had a message on his top. I don't even sure what the message was, but Anthony had one before the last United game, but he unveiled it while standing at the start of the game, probably thinking, I'm not getting a goal here today. I might as well show it now.
That's awful.
Isn't that terrible?
I wonder if that happened much. I wonder if he kind of... well, I know that there's obviously lots of examples of players scoring goals or big goals in a game and then revealing a shirt. I always think, like, you had to be fairly sure you were going to do that. I mean, the one that stands out to me is Iniesta taking off a sign in the World Cup final as a sitting midfield player. It's like, wow, how did you know that was going to happen? I mean,
that's the thing. Has Anthony been wearing this shirt for 2 months and it's just like, oh, fuck this. I'm just getting off.
I guess you can always take it off at the end of the game and you won't get booked. But it just seems mad to me when players score massive goals and they reveal a sign. That's amazing. That's just
Diaz, his parents were just kidnapped and he's writing things on his shirt and the game he's going to play. It's insane.
It's just more conspiracy, Will. It's all rigged, isn't it? You know, some players are in this, some players aren't. I mean, it is hard to not laugh at it because it's so insane.
So Diaz obviously is a star of the show in that game, but another unlikely star of the show, I would say, is our boy Ogbene, won man of the match, and he was, I wouldn't say he was master chef, but he was heating up down that wing for the whole game.
He was top baker this week, we'll say.
Yeah, junior master chef.
It is quite funny because I saw some of the, obviously the whole story, like I say, is about Luis Diaz and so emotional. And then the Irish football pages on Twitter did anybody see Benny's stats in that game? I mean, did you see how many duels he won? I'm just saying, he's on an upwards curve. He's at the peak of his powers right now. Maybe he's going to get a big move. I don't know.
And I don't know if you saw, did you see the miss of the season? Darwin Nunez summed up in a 5-second clip.
Yeah.
Ball gets headed across to him. Genuinely an open goal. And he skied it over the bar. Now it was offside, but you could see in his eyes, he did not know it was offside.
Yeah. They're almost the worst ones, I think, when they're offside, because it's I know, there's no one...
Yeah.
At least every jeers at you and people can console you. You go, all right, you know what? Get out of your head. Or you miss an open goal and then goes back to normal. Fuck, did everybody else see that? You're still, there's no closure on the moment. It's fuck, I can't believe I missed that, but there's no one consoling you. It's come on, Darren, next ball. Yeah, next ball. Fuck, that was bad. I can't believe I did that. Yeah.
Jamie Carragher said after, he said he'll be relieved it was offside, but that won't make him forget.
literally what I summed up what I was, doing there. And it's funny because during the week he scored a goal against Bournemouth, which I think people at the time this sums him up perfectly. Great crafty the ball, first touch, terrible, puts it way out the
so
sideline.
Bad it got jeered by the crowd.
Because the chance is gone. Of course it's gone. What's he going to do now? Get the ball from the sideline, go past the player and rifle it over the goalkeeper's head? Because that's exactly what he did.
Yeah.
And I was that's just insane ability and talent. But then the first bit is well, why is his touch so bad? I mean, how have you worked on one but not the other?
He is 100%. I think he is genuinely the funniest footballer that's ever stepped foot in the Premier League. He's just, you don't know what you're going to get from minute to minute.
He reminds me, and this is going to sound like a mean insult, but it reminds me of Olivier Giroud in a way.
Yeah.
Because Olivier Giroud had undoubted talent as well, but he had massive shortcomings through his game that stopped him being one of the top players. But then you look at his highlight reel, it's insane.
He's
you look at his achievements, it's World Cup winner, top scorer for his country, FA Cup winner, scored goals every club he's been, from Montpellier to Arsenal to Chelsea to Inter Milan to AC Milan. He's AC Milan's top scorer this year still at almost 40. And people are like, yeah, but he was never a top player. It's like, well, what makes a top player? You know, like, I mean, surely at some point you have to just put him in the category. It's like, no, you don't get it. You have to watch him over years. And like when you watch Darwin's, highlight reel, say this guy was insane. He's everything. It's like, he does, but he also doesn't. It's like, well, it looks like he does. Like, I know that, but you have to watch him every week and then you'll know. As you mentioned there, we have a London derby of sorts. What is the Chelsea-Tottenham derby? A hate-filled derby, I suppose?
It's some kind of London derby, yeah. The Battle of the Bridge, again.
Is it in Stamford Bridge?
Actually, I'll look that up right now.
Or is it in Tottenham's floating space station of a stadium?
The nightclub, as they've dubbed it. It is in the nightclub.
Do you fancy them, Will, or is it going to be Chelsea's to ruin the parade again?
It's based on literally nothing, but
yeah,
it just feels like Chelsea are going to win today. I think I've seen that in a few different places. I saw Sky Sport had 2 different pundits saying it. I saw Paul Merson guarantee it.
Guarantee Chelsea's going to win.
Yeah.
Dear God.
But it just feels like Chelsea are starting to click, and Spurs have to drop points eventually.
They might do, Will. But I suppose the biggest question, the most important question, is will Pochettino get booed?
He's ready for it if he does, I have seen. How would you describe will he get booed in your words?
What do you mean by that? What does that mean? How would I describe will he get booed?
As in, that's the question you'd ask. What was the question Genus asked?
Well, Genus said the boo boys be out and he has to swallow that.
That is an insane thing to say.
He's got to hold that L. He's got to swallow that L. All of it.
Well, if the boo boys were going to be out, or if they weren't going to be out, they certainly will be now after his Poch's latest comments. So in the pre-match press conference, he was asked, is he beginning to fall in love with Chelsea? Well, actually, first he was asked, does he still love Spurs? He's like, of course, I did so much of them, was there for so long. And then he was asked, so are you beginning to fall in love with Chelsea? And he said, and I quote, after 5 months, come on, I cannot lie. I hope we can arrive at the same level that I was at Tottenham, but at the moment, it's a tough situation. He was then asked, will you manage Tottenham again? And he said, who knows? For sure, if I'm not working and they want me, why not?
Oh my God. Before the game.
Before the game. And again, like maybe if you're like a fan of like United or Liverpool, like a casual fan, you might not know. Chelsea and Spurs hate each other. They are rivals.
I mean, that's a mad thing to do before a game. Don't say,
crazy.
I don't like this team, and honestly, it's a bit of a shit show. But if I was unemployed, which at Chelsea can happen very quickly, I would definitely manage Spurs, the team we're playing tonight again. I mean,
do you love Chelsea? Come on. Oh, after 5 months, are you joking me? It's been terrible.
It's only been 5 months and €1 billion. I mean, I couldn't possibly say at this point if I love them or not, Got to sweeten the deal with a bit more cash.
So, yeah, I feel like this is the game where it slips for Spurs.
Yeah.
But again, it's based on nothing. It's just the feeling.
Well, look, this is, I guess, pointless because the game's going to happen in 45 minutes. By the time this goes up, it'll already happened, Will. So let's get our...
Yeah, you tell us.
Let's get our predictions out and immediately have them either be wrong or right. I'm going to say Spurs carry on the torch as the second place team this year, and this is not where they're confirmed to be second place. They're still going to be fighting for this title after this Chelsea win. They'll be back top of the table. That's what I predict.
Ooh, I think a 2-1 win for Chelsea, and our boy Mudryk will be on the score sheet.
You heard it here last, folks.
Yeah.
The game has happened, and either we're both wrong, both right. No, we can't both be right. It's happened, and that's our take.
Literally the most pointless prediction of all. You couldn't possibly hear this before hearing the result of the game.
I don't think so, no. Well, maybe some of the guys in the hostel might have heard it.
Yeah. There was one more Not really a funny quote. It was more of a misunderstanding, a lighter note from the Poch press conference, which I thought I was laughing at for a bit because he was asked, will you do a Ron Atkinson? Will you accidentally sit in the wrong dugout, which famously he did back in the day? And they got a laugh in the room. All the journalists were like, that's funny. And Poch was laughing along, and he said, yes, Ron Atkinson, like Mr. Bean. That's Mr. Bean.
So he thought someone asked him, "Are you Mr. Bean?" And everyone laughed. But yeah, Mr. Bean, great character.
That's
great comedy.
That's what I was laughing at for so much.
That'd be mad if you were in like a professional, setting, press conference. You're taking these like, paint by numbers questions like, "Oh, you're ready for the game," and then somebody goes, "Excuse me, are you going to act like Mr. Bean tonight?" And then everyone laughed, and you're like, "What? Why is everyone laughing at this?"
For a second, that's what he thought the question was.
And he went, "Okay, everyone's laughing. Laugh along, Poch. You'll get him back someday. Not now, not here."
Hey, maybe Spurs will take me back. I'll say whatever.
No, honestly, that is nonsense. Nonsense. All nonsense.
They say many garbage things.
You don't know what you're going to get.
This is a totally shameful, disgraceful piece of nonsense. See us, balls off yesterday.
You'll learn a lot more if you listen rather than talk all the
Plenty
time.
of time, no problem.